Hello, 9th standard. Have a good day. This video 16a is describing about the chapter 18 organization of tissues. Under that we are going to discuss about animal tissues in question answer pattern. Okay, and this video number 16a, you please make the correction. Following that will be as 15a. The only minor change what you have to understand is this video is number 16a. And this animal tissue, it discusses about the question answer. In video 16, we are already discussing about plant tissue. Same way we are discussing here as 16a discussion. So please understand 15a true, it is as 16a, where we are going to discuss about animal tissues. Okay, thank you. Hello, 9th standard. I hope you have written your test well in the animal kingdom. Yes, sir. Right. Now today we are going to discuss about the question answers in the organization of tissues lesson as video 50a. As organization of tissues that we have learned as first part as plant tissues, second part as animal tissues. I hope you remember this. Okay? We are just going to sum up or recall the lessons that we have learned for animal tissues. சரியா அதில் வந்து question answers wise multiple choice, match the following, one word and the now we are going to discuss. So the topic organization of tissues, the animal tissues portion. I hope you remember this. So here this is a flow chart that we have learned already as classification of animal tissues. What are the category? As epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscle tissue and nervous tissue. Major category: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue and nerve tissue. In epithelial tissue, what are the category subdivisions? We have as squamous epithelium, columnar epithelium, ciliated epithelium, cuboidal epithelium and glandular epithelium. I hope you remember all this. I repeat: squamous epithelium, cuboid epithelium, columnar epithelium, ciliated epithelium and glandular epithelium. These are all epithelial tissues. Normally epithelial tissues will line the inner and outer surface of the body. So it is called epithelial tissues. And squamous epithelium, the shape of the cells, epithelial cell. Columnar, pillar like long cells, like that. Based on the shape, epithelial cells are forming, and also based on the function, glandular epithelium will line the glands. That is for the epithelial tissues. Then connective tissues, these are as subdivisions: connective tissue proper, dense supportive connective tissue, dense connective tissue and fluid connective tissue. This connective tissue proper naga, suppose a piece of muscle tissue is given to you naga, what it is formed of? Definitely it is formed of something that is connective tissue proper. They are as areolar and adipose tissue. Areolar tissue, further it is formed of this white and yellow fibrous connective tissue. Whereas adipose tissue, it is occupying the subcutaneous portion below the skin. That is adipose tissue. So connective tissue proper, that includes areolar connective tissue, which is formed of as yellow and white fibrous connective tissue. Adipose tissue, they are accumulated below the skin. Next, supportive connective tissue as cartilage and bone. Cartilage it's similar to bone with the flexible nature, whereas bone hard and rigid nature. Okay, and then it is dense connective tissue as tendon and ligaments. Tendon and ligaments are dense connective tissue. Whereas fluid connective tissue, it is of two parts, blood and lymph. Blood we already studied contains fluid part, blood plasma, solid portion, RBC, WBC and blood platelets. I hope you understand this. So this is forming the connective tissue. Next is muscular tissue. There are three types as striated muscle, non-striated muscle and cardiac muscle. Whereas nervous tissue, it is as structure of nerve cell body or cytosol with the branches called a dendron. One of them is forming the axon. I hope you understand. So this is a flow chart. Now there are some fill-ups where you need to find the answer. Sorry, fill-up water and minerals are conducted by in the plant tissue, vascular tissue, it is as xylem. Rendu mix ஆயிருக்கும் the question ல. Okay. So, water and minerals are conducted by xylem tissue. Then in higher animal, higher plants, food is conducted by phloem. சரியா? Then blood is a dash tissue. Blood is a liquid tissue ன்னு சொல்லலாம், fluid tissue ன்னு சொல்லலாம், connective tissue ன்னு சொல்லலாம். Then bone consists of osteocytes. The structure of cell னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா boneல நம்ம படிக்கிறோம் இல்லையா Hawaiian canal அப்படிலாம். So bone consists of osteocyte. Then cartilage consists of chondrocytes. Cartilage structure பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா. So it is chondrocytes. Then a nerve impulse passes from one neuron to another. That is called synapse. Nerve cell the nerve endings are called end plate or synapses, through which it is connecting from one neuron to the other. Then animals move around in search of food, mate reproduction and shelter. Then a thick waterproof coating of cutin desert plant dash occurs over the epidermis in desert plant. அது cutin என்ன நம்ம epidermis படிச்சிருக்கோம் இல்லையா பிளான்ட்ஸ்ல dicot root stem and leaf அதுல outermost layer epidermis where it is having another thick layer called cuticle. So it is formed of a cell wall material called cutin. Okay, so இதெல்லாம் plant tissues ஓட வருது பார்த்துக்கோ. Then dash consists of tracheates, vessels, parenchyma and fibers. இது xylem. Xylem is a complex permanent tissue. So xylem consists of tracheates, vessels, parenchyma and fibers. Same way, dash epithelium occurs in the lining of renal tubules and ducts of salivary gland. அதுதான் cuboidal epithelium. நம்ம டைப் படிச்சிருக்கோம் இல்லையா அதுல cuboidal epithelium. Then tendons connect muscles with the bones. Tendon is again a dense connective tissue, whereas tendon and ligaments. அதுல tendons connect with the muscles. Tendons connect muscles with the connective tissue bones. சரியா? So இது 12க்கும் answer இது ஒருக்கு நீ ஒரு cross check பண்ணிக்கோ. Right? The next one இது match the following type. Match the following எப்படி கண்டுபிடிப்பை? First இதெல்லாம் go through பண்ணு. Photosynthetic tissue, epithelial tissue, connective tissue, blood tissue, nervous tissue, colon-chyma, bone, meristem. ரெண்டு plant tissue, animal tissue ரெண்டும் mix ஆயிருக்கு. So photosynthetic tissue எதுல வரும்? இதுல இதெல்லாமே functions இருக்கு. இதெல்லாமே function இருக்கு. அப்ப இதுல transport கிடையாது, protection வராது இல்லையா? epithelial tissue தான் protection இல்லையா? Then photosynthetic வந்து feeding because it prepares its own food. So photosynthesis feeding, epithelial tissue க்கு protection தான், connective tissue வந்து it gives strength. Then blood tissue வந்து it is meant for transport. Nervous tissue வந்து it sends message and signals. Okay. Then colon-chyma it gives flexibility. Then bone வந்து it is formed of minerals calcium and phosphorus. Then last meristem வந்து என்னது விட்டுருக்கு? It is meant for cell division. அந்த மாதிரி இதுல வந்து ரெண்டுமே இருக்கு, plant tissue இருக்கு, animal tissue இருக்கு. இது வந்து single matching. Okay. The next one it is as double matching type. It is as double matching type. எப்படின்னா இதெல்லாம் again plant tissue இருக்கும், animal tissue இருக்கு. இந்த காலத்தையும் நீ மேட்ச் பண்ணணும். ஓகே. இப்ப columnar epithelium இதோட மெயின் ஃபங்க்ஷன் வந்து அப்சார்ப்ஷன் வச்சுக்கோங்க. And then இதோட என்னது பார்க்கலாம்? It is for secretion. Columnar epithelium for secretion. Okay. Then bones வந்து it is forming a body framework and main anchoring of muscles. அது வந்து இது பண்ணிக்கிறது சரியா? And then C வந்து neuron, it has axon and then it has dendrites. அப்போ நியூரானுக்கு axon, dendrites. I hope you understand. அதே மாதிரி colon-chyma it gives strength and flexibility. Strength இருக்கு, flexibility இருக்கு. Then tongue, it is tongue என்ன சொல்லணும்? tongue it is a striated muscle and secretion. Mouth watering சொல்லலையா? secretion. Then areolar connective tissue, it is a ground substance. Areolar connective tissue, ground substance and it has fibroblast. The last epithelium, it has trachea. Last epithelium வந்து it has trachea னாக்க the windpipe and then it is for ciliated epithelium, so that any dust particle or any foreign particle when it enters it is removing. So இந்த column 1 column 2 and 3 ஓட match பண்ணணும். This is called double matching. Again இதுல answer இருக்கு, cross check பண்ணிக்கோ சரியா? The next one is about the choose the correct answer. இதுலயும் உனக்கு வந்து கொஞ்சம் practice ஆகும். Choose the correct answer. As epithelial tissue always has been exposed outer surface and an inner surface anchored to connective tissue by thin non-cellular structure called என்ன சொல்லணும்? non-striated, stratified, it is basement membrane, fibroblast சொல்லணும் இல்லையா? ஸோ இதுல என்னது? epithelial tissueக்கு வந்து ஒரு பேஸ் இருக்கு. ஸோ ஆன்சர் வந்து basement membrane. Which type of tissue form the inner lining of blood vessel? Epithelial tissue. Which type of tissue forms glands? என்ன வரணும்? என்னெல்லாம் ஆப்ஷன்? connective, epithelial, nervous and muscle. ஆன்சர் வந்து epithelial tissue. glandக்கு வந்து epithelial tissue. சரியா? The next one, the covering of external and internal surface of animal. என்ன இருக்கும் ஆக்சுவலா outer covering-னால it is epithelial tissue. உனக்கு இந்த sentence புரிஞ்சிச்சுன்னா you look for the answer. Okay. Connective, muscular, nervous and epithelial tissue. Connective tissue னா நிச்சயமா external outer covering கிடையாது இல்லையா? So answer வந்து epithelial tissue. Then trapped dust particle are pushed out of respiratory tract by ciliated epithelium. ஏன்னா stratified forming a layer, sensory it has no இந்த மாதிரி irritation தான் நமக்கு தெரியும். Glandular meant for secretion. So answer வந்து ciliated epithelium. Then next வந்து nasal and genital tracts are lined by simple columnar epithelium, stratified columnar epithelium, pseudo stratified epithelium. Pseudo na false and stratified cuboidal epithelium. இதெல்லாம் shapes படிச்சோம்ல அது. So என்ன ஆன்சர் வரணும்? nasal and genital tract அதுக்கு வந்து they are lined by it is pseudo stratified epithelium. நம்ம புக்ல இந்த pseudoங்கிற word கிடையாது, but you should know. I hope you understand. This is how you should know to choose the correct answer. Then here again choose the correct answer. இதுல பாரு. Tissue found in area of regular wear and tear. அதுனா normal functioning of that any damaged tissue அந்த மாதிரிலாம் இருக்கிறதுக்கு. Simple squamous, stratified squamous, simple cuboidal, stratified cuboidal. நமக்கு இந்த stratifiedம் word வந்து நமக்கு இல்ல. Stratifiedனா it is a type of compound epithelium. ஏன்னா layer, stratumனா லேயரா இருக்கிறதுக்கு வந்து stratified epithelium. Basementல layers இருக்கும் அது பேரு. சரியா? So here answer is stratified squamous epithelium. Okay. Then cardiac muscle fibers are branched, striated, involuntary, all the above. இது வந்து cardiac muscle வந்து it will have branched இருக்கும், striations இருக்கும், it is an involuntary muscle. So answer வந்து all the above. I hope you understand. Then cylindrical muscle fibers which show alternate light and dark bands. என்ன muscle? Again smooth கிடையாது because it is spindle shape. Then cardiac muscle கிடையாது ஏன்னாக்க அதுல வந்து striation இருக்கும் and alternate இது branch இருக்கும். Tendons it is not because it is a dense connective tissue. So answer வந்து striated muscle fiber. Then the most abundant animal tissue என்ன சொல்லணும்? It is connective tissue. ஏன்னா நீ எந்த இதுல பார்த்தாலும் it has connective tissue. It is connective tissue. I hope you understand. சரியா? So இதுக்கு answer as usual இங்க இருக்கு, that you will check. இதுல பத்திரமா வச்சுக்கோ, revisionக்கு தேவைப்படும். Okay. Now this is again matrix of connective tissue. Matrix of connective tissue is produced by plasma cell, mast cell, fibroblast, both B and C. என்ன சொல்லுவை? mast cell இருக்கும், fibroblast இருக்கும். Answer வந்து both B and C. Then tendons and ligaments are dense connective tissue, loose connective tissue, muscular tissue and vascular tissue. என்னது? நம்ம 4 டைப் படிச்சோம்ல connective tissueல. So it comes under dense connective tissue. Then ligament connects a bone with the skin, muscle, bone, both B and C. Another ligaments connects bone with the bone. And bone to bone, when bone to bone is joining, it is by a ligament. The muscle fibrous structure is called ligament. So ligaments connect a bone with the bone. As the answer இங்க இருக்கு. சரியா? The next one is figure based structure. Figure based question இருக்கும். இதுல பாரு, identify the animal tissue represented here. Label the parts 1 to 4. 1 வந்து என்ன சொல்லணும், cytoplasm. 2 nucleus. 3 வந்து it's called cement substance. நம்ம basement membrane சொல்லுவோம்ல, அந்த இதுல வந்து இந்த cross wallக்கு வந்து cement substance. And then 4 வந்து basement membrane. The black வந்து basement membrane. Then mention the function. It is first வந்து it is a squamous epithelium. Labeling சொல்லியாச்சு. It protects the underlying body parts such as mouth cavity, skin, nose, alveoli. I hope you follow this. So இந்த மாதிரி diagram based question வரும். சரியா? The next one, just 1 mark, 2 mark question. What will happen? இதெல்லாம் சீக்கிரம் படிச்சிடலாம். What will happen if bone marrow is destroyed? Create a question. Bone marrow produces blood cells. If bone marrow is destroyed, WBC, RBC and platelets will not be formed. What will happen if all the blood platelets are removed from blood? Platelets are responsible for the release of thromboplastin necessary for blood clotting at the site of injury. In the absence of blood platelets, blood clotting will not occur after injury and bleeding will continue from the wound. This will finally cause the death of the injured person. So, இதெல்லாம் creative question. Okay. Then, animals of colder region and fishes of cold water have thicker layer of subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous na and the skin layer க்கு அடுத்தது பேரு subcutaneous layer. Normally skin வந்து it is formed of 3 layers as epidermis. Then immediately below that is the subcutaneous layer. Then as hypodermis, then forms the dermis. So adula in animals, subcutaneous fat functions as an insulating layer. Adipose tissue படிக்கிறோம்ல, அதே மாதிரி. That prevents heat loss from the body in cold environment. So animals in cold areas and fishes of cold water possess thicker layer of subcutaneous fat. It also functions as reserve food during period of food scarcity. I hope you understand this. Sorry. Then next one, as again match the column தான் போட்டிருக்கேன். நீங்க படிச்சு பாரு. As stratified squamous epithelium. Answer வந்து skin. Stratified squamous epithelium, skin. Striated muscle, skeletal muscle. Fluid connective tissue, it is alveolar tissue. Then fluid connective tissue and the blood. Blood and lymph are the fluid connective tissue. Then filling the space inside the organ, that is the alveolar tissue. Then adipose tissue, favorite subcutaneous layer. Then surface of joints, it is cartilage. That joint is ரெண்டுத்துக்கும் வந்து cartilage. I hope you are following this. சரியா? இதுவும் ஒரு single matching. The next one, true or false. இதுல சீக்கிரம் படிச்சிடலாம். True or false வந்து epithelial tissue is protective tissue in animal body. True. The lining of blood vessels, lungs of alveoli and kidney tubules are all made up of epithelial tissue. அதுவும் true. Epithelial cells have lot of intercellular spaces. No, it is false. Epithelial layer is permeable layer. அது வந்து true. Then epithelial layer does not allow regulations of minerals between body and external environment. அது வந்து false. Answer வந்து இதோக்கு check பண்ணி. Next, differentiate the following activity on the basis of voluntary. அதுனா V போடு. Or involuntary. அது வந்து involuntary. IV muscles. சரியா? So, voluntary muscles na V போடணும். Involuntary muscles na IV போடணும். So, jumping of frog, voluntary. Voluntary muscle action. The frog வேணும்னா jump பண்ணும், இல்லனா பண்ணாது. அடுத்து pumping of heart. Pumping of heart வந்து involuntary. ஏன்னா நீ நிறுத்துனா நிறுத்த முடியாது. That is pumping of heart, involuntary action. Then writing with the hand, voluntary. உனக்கு வேணும்னா நீ எழுதலாம், வேண்டாட்டா எழுத வேண்டாம். So that is involuntary action. Sorry, that is voluntary action. Then movement of chocolate in your intestine. நீ சாக்லேட் வந்து இப்ப வேணும்னா அதை ஸ்டாப் பண்ண, எனக்கு மறுபடியும் வேணும்னா அதெல்லாம் பண்ண முடியாது. ஸோ இட் இஸ் மூமெண்ட் ஆஃப் சாக்லேட்னா ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு ஃபுட் ஐட்டம், அதுக்காக சாக்லேட் போட்டிருக்கு. இன் யுவர் இன்டெஸ்டைன், தட் இஸ் இன்வாலன்ட்ரி ஆக்ஷன். ஸோ இது வந்து ஒரு கிரியேட்டிவ் கொஸ்டின். ஆஸ் வாலண்ட்ரி ஆக்ஷன்னா வி போடணும், இன்வாலன்ட்ரி ஆக்ஷன்னா ஐவி போடணும். ஐவின்றது 4 கிடையாது. It is IV, involuntary action. சரியா? Next one, இங்க பாரு. Fill in the blanks. Lining of blood vessel is made up of, again, squamous epithelium. Lining of small intestine is made up of columnar epithelium. Lining of kidney tubules is made up of cuboidal epithelium. And epithelial cells with cilia are found in respiratory tract. இதுல என்ன பார்க்கறேன்னா எல்லாமே lining layer of internal organs. இதெல்லாம் lining of blood vessels, lining of small intestine, lining of kidney tubules and epithelial cells with the cilia. அது வந்து நார்மலா சிலியேட்டட் எபித்தீலியம்னு இருக்கணும். இவன் வந்து ஒரு சேஞ்ச், ஒரு வேற விதமா கொஸ்டின் கேட்கணுங்கிறதுக்காக ரெஸ்பிரேட்டரி ட்ராக்ட்னு. சரி, ரெஸ்பிரேட்டரி ட்ராக்ட்ல வந்து there are many ciliated epithelium. எதுக்கு? to remove the dust particle, to remove the any foreign particle. நார்மலா அது வந்து dust particle தான் சொல்லணும். Okay, so lining of blood vessel is made up of squamous epithelium. Lining of small intestine is made up of columnar epithelium. Lining of kidney tubules made up of cuboidal epithelium. Then last one, the respiratory tract. I hope you are able to follow this. The next last slide. As identify the type of tissue in the following. இதுவும் இதெல்லாம் கிரியேட்டிவ் கொஸ்டின். நம்ம லாஸ்ட் 3 கொஸ்டின் பேட்டர்ன் வந்து கிரியேட்டிவ் கொஸ்டின்ஸ். ஸ்கின்ல இது என்ன எபித்தீலியம்? இட் இஸ் epithelial tissue present and அதுல subdivision squamous epithelium. சரியா? So skinல it is epithelial tissue, squamous epithelium. அடுத்து bark of tree சொல்றோம். bark வந்து இந்த பாட்னி பிளான்ட் டிஷ்யூஸ் தான். நம்ம ட்ரீ ட்ரங்க் இருக்குல்ல, நல்ல பெருசா ட்ரீ ட்ரங்க், அதுல வந்து நம்ம இப்ப ஸ்பெஷலா நம்ம சைட்ல வேப்ப மரம் நிறைய இருக்கு, அதுல வந்து இப்படி பாலம் பாலமா அந்த ட்ரங்க் பிச்சு பிச்சு எடுத்துடலாம் இல்லையா, அதுதான் பார்க். ஸோ அந்த பார்க் ஆஃப் ட்ரீ ட்ரங்க்ல வந்து இட் இஸ் கால்டு கார்க். அந்த டிஷ்யூ பேரு கார்க். எபிடமல் லேயர்ல அந்த டிஷ்யூஸ் பேரு கார்க். இட் இஸ் ஃபங்க்ஷன் வந்து ப்ரொடெக்டிவ் இன் ஃபங்க்ஷன். சரியா? The next வந்து bone. It is a skeletal connective tissue. The skeletal tissue சொல்லுவோம் and it is a type of connective tissue. Connective tissue என்ன படிச்சிருக்கோம்? 4 types ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? As connective tissue proper, supportive connective tissue, dense connective tissue and fluid connective tissue. அதுல first one வந்து areolar tissue and adipose tissue. At the supportive connective tissue, bone and cartilage. ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? அதுதான் அந்த bone skeletal tissue வந்து connective tissue. இதுல வந்து நீங்க ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோ supportive connective tissue. Then lining of kidney tubule. இப்பதானே பார்த்தோம். Lining of kidney tubule. It is cuboidal epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue நீ நல்லா தரோவா பண்ணீங்க. Especially அது எங்கெங்க organ location. அது வந்து important. I hope you understand. Then last one the vascular bundle. It is a complex permanent tissue where it is formed of xylem and phloem. என்ன சொல்லுவோம்? Xylem conducts water, phloem conducts food material. ஏன் complex permanent tissue சொல்றோம்? Tissues are plant tissues are two types: simple permanent and complex permanent tissue. Where simple permanent tissues are parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, whereas complex permanent tissues are xylem and phloem. So in the complex permanent, in complex xylem formed of 4 different types as xylem, tracheids, vessels, parenchyma and fibers. Same way, phloem, it is formed of sieve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. So இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கிறதுனால இது வந்து complex permanent tissues னு சொல்றோம். I hope you understand. So this session, video 15A, we are just recalling the lesson as animal tissues. And select question pattern with the creative questions we have been discussing now. அதுலதான் மெயினா இந்த questions இருக்கு பாரு, அந்த questionம் the identify the type in the type எல்லாம் you should know to answer. These are all creative pattern. Firstல நம்ம பார்த்ததெல்லாம் multiple choice, அப்புறம் வந்து fill in the blanks, அதெல்லாம் பார்த்தல, அதெல்லாம் நார்மலா you should know for a objective type test. I hope you understand. Yes, sir. Right. So we will continue in the next class. Okay. Thank you.